Hello everyone, myself Dr. Rajiv Gupta from Srimati MD Patel Institute of Physical Science and Research, Anand. The course name is BSc Chemistry. The semester is 5th semester. The subject is Analytical Chemistry and its subject code is US05 CCHE24. The unit number is 2, which is chromatography first. In this lecture, I am going to talk on classification of chromatography. It is the third part of the series of this lecture. Now, this was the classification where we classified the chromatography into these different ways based on the interaction between sample component and stationary phase. Partition, adsorption, chromatography we have learned. Also some introduction part of TLC and paper chromatography we also learned. Now today I am going to talk on ion exchange chromatography. Ion exchange chromatography. It is also called ion chromatography. It is a process which allows the separation of ions and polar molecules based on the charge properties of the molecules. Suppose if our sample contains polar molecules, or we can say somewhat cationic or anionic parts in sample components, then these cations or anions may retain by stationary phase, and the other molecules which have lesser ionic properties or lesser polar nature will move with mobile phase. So here actually ionic interactions, non-bonding ionic interactions take place in between cations and anions. Here stationary phase could be cationic, then the attracted sample components will be anionic. If stationary phase is anionic, then the mobile phase which contains cationic portion may be attracted or may be retained or more retained by the stationary phase. It can be used for almost any kind of charged molecule including large proteins, small nucleotides and amino acids. So these all type of molecules could be polar in nature or in presence of acidic or basic medium could show cationic or anionic properties. So these type of polymers, small molecules, small amino acids, organic molecules, nucleotides, these could be easily separated using this ion exchange chromatography. The solution to be injected is usually called a sample, as we know that, and the individually separated components are called analytes. It is often used in protein purification, water analysis and quality control. In QC, for any chemical synthesis we can use this technique, but basic phenomena is that cationic or anionic, that electrostatic interaction will work during this chromatographic experiment. Ion exchange chromatography retains analyte molecules based on Coulombic interactions. As I said earlier, ionic interactions, that is electrostatic interactions. The stationary phase display ionic functional groups, means on stationary phase could be a any polymer or other things which are functionalized with some groups which could show cationic or anionic behavior. That functional groups may interact with analyte or sample components ions of opposite charge. This type of chromatography is further subdivided into cation exchange chromatography and anion exchange chromatography. In cation exchange chromatography, the retains moieties of mobile phase will be cations, because the stationary phase in this case will be negatively charged, or it will contain functional groups which have negative charge. So in cation exchange chromatography, the charge on stationary phase, we can say charge on stationary phase will be negative charge, and the cations in mobile phase will be attracted or retained by this stationary phase. And the second is anion exchange chromatography, where these things becomes opposite, where he the stationary phase is cationic and it attracts anions which are present in our sample components. Now, what is the procedure of ion exchange chromatography? A mixture of amino acids or proteins can be conveniently separated by ion exchange chromatography. So this is the very good example for the separation of amino acid mixture or proteins mixture or these biomolecule mixture, because these molecules at different pH values and other in the presence of uh, other moieties, these could show cationic or anionic behavior depending on their functional groups which are present on it. So these could be easily separated by using this ion exchange chromatography. The amino acid mixture is passed through a cation exchange, and the individual amino acids can be eluted by using buffers of different pH. See, we know that there are various amino acids which have carboxylic groups and amino groups on it. Number of carboxylic groups and amino groups could vary with different amino acids. So these various amino acids show different pKa or pKb values. So depending on that values, these amino acids or somewhat the similar type of molecules show cationic or anionic behavior when we change the pH of the medium, pH of the mobile phase. At lower pH or at higher pH, the same amino acid could work differently. So here an example is given. Suppose a mixture of arginine and aspartic acid is passed through a cation exchange column. What will happen? So first see what is arginine, aspartic acid, both are amino acids. In arginine there are more amino groups are present, or we can say 4 nitrogen atoms are present. But in case of aspartic acid, only one amino group is present but 2 carboxylic groups are present. In arginine only one carboxylic group is present. So arginine actually work as a more basic. Arginine is more basic compared to aspartic acid. So at the same pH value, these both amino acids show their behavior very different. So suppose this mixture is passed through a cation exchange column, means the stationary phase which is filled in column, the arginine has extra positive charge and so adheres to the column. Suppose we are moving from lower pH value to higher pH value. At lower pH value, we can say this one type of gradient illusion, where the starting pH value is low, 3, 4, 5 somewhat. At that lower pH value, the carboxylic groups will occupied, or we can say will occupied by hydrogen atoms, or we can say that it will be neutral. But the amino groups, which is a basic group, will take or will make a acid base reaction with this acidic medium with H plus ions and becomes positively charged, quaternary ammonium type salts. So this arginine, which contains more number of nitrogen atoms, so it becomes more cationic. It becomes more cationic compared to aspartic acid. So when we move this column, run this column at lower pH values, then this arginine, which is cationic, then in case of we use negatively charged stationary phase, so this arginine will be more retained or more attracted towards stationary phase, negatively charged stationary phase. Okay, so first the aspartic acid will be eluted from the column through mobile phase. Okay, now when, but negatively charged aspartic acid molecules will not adhere and come out first from the column, as I said. Okay, now when the aspartic acid is separated from the column, now the turn for arginine. When weak NOH is passed, the positive charge of arginine is neutralized. Means here the mobile phase pH is changed. It goes from acidic to basic. In basic medium, this arginine losses, which was cationic, losses H plus ions and it becomes neutralized. And this Na plus ion, which is present in NaOH, this Na plus ion cation will replace arginine in the column. Means in place of arginine, the sodium ion retains at stationary phase surface, because we know that stationary phase here is negative. So it is actually a cation exchange chromatography, because here the arginine cation is exchanged or replaced by sodium ion. Okay, thus the arginine is eluted finally at last. The various fractions eluted containing individual amino acids are allowed to react with ninhydrin reagent. This ninhydrin reagent actually reacts with various amino acids and form a different complexes which has different colors. So different amino acids when react with this ninhydrin reagent, then they form different colors complexes. So one by one these amino acids when passes through column and eluted one by one, then these will be reacted with ninhydrin agent and we see the colored complex, and by this specific color we can identify qualitatively that what amino acid is eluted. Thus INS continuously monitored for qualitative and quantitative identification of amino acids. So this technique, ion exchange chromatography, is very good technique for the qualitative and quantitative determination of amino acids. The amino acid analyzer is based on this method. So here a diagram is shown how the cation and anion exchangers work. These two types we read: cation exchange resin and anion exchange resin. These are the examples of these resins: polystyrene sulfonate resin. Here this sulfonate actually work as anion. Okay, anion means here the stationary phase will be negatively charged and it will attract cation from mobile phase. CM, Cefidex gel, CM cellulose, these all cation exchange resins bear acidic groups. See, the sulfonate is a one type acidic group and immobilize cations from adjacent solution. The solution which comes into contact during experiment with stationary phase, from this solution these cations will be immobilized, or we can say adhered or stick to the stationary phase which has acidic groups. Now these are the examples of anion exchangers: DEAE cellulose, trimethylamino, polystyrene, DEAE Cefidex. All these bear basic groups. Okay, so due to these basic groups, these show cationic behavior, and these attract anions from mobile phase. These immobilize anions from neighboring solutions, the solution which is passing through these resins. So this is the anion exchange resin, and this is cation exchange resin. This anion exchange resin actually a positive charge resin which attracts negative ions or anions from the uh, mobile phase. In cation exchange resin, the stationary phase property is uh, anionic, and as here it is shown that it is negatively charged, and it attracts or binds these cations from mobile phase. Also this is shown a diagrammatic view how different components separates in ion exchange chromatography. So first, see, this orange color component is moving faster inside column, and this pink color component moves very slow in this column. Then this is more highly charged molecule. See, if the quantity of charge is very high on a sample component, then it will more attracted by the stationary phase in this ion exchange chromatography. So it contains more charge, so it will be tightly bound to the resin or stationary phase, so it will travel slower, and this has very less charge compared to these both, and it binds very less with the resin, so it is moving fastly with mobile phase. And this is a moderately charged, means a charge quantity of charge uh, in between these both, so it is traveling in the middle of these two components. So this simple diagrammatic view how uh, sample components separate in ion exchange chromatography. Now the second point, that's classification, is gel filtration chromatography or molecular sieve chromatography. Gel filtration, here the term gel is used, means here some large molecules, some polymers or other large macromolecules will be dissolved in a solvent. That type of solution is called as a gel. This gel filtration means in gels there could be large particles or smaller particles could be present, so these large and small particles will be separated. Suppose a polymer contains large molecular weight and small molecular weight of the same polymers, so these large molecular weight or small molecular weight polymers could be separated using this gel filtration chromatography. So it is also called molecular sieve chromatography. It is extremely useful in separating ribosomes, viruses, nucleic acids, proteins depending on their particle size and shape. See here, particle size and shape matters. Particle size is large or small, and what is the shape of this particle. So actually here macromolecules or macroparticles could be separated. In gel filtration chromatography, the separation of the particles is based on their size, shape and molecular weight, as I said earlier. This technique is also referred to as molecular exclusion chromatography, means some high molecular weight molecules will elute first and low molecular weight will elute at last. So here exclusively some higher molecular weight or low molecular weight components of a same compound of a same polymer will be separated. The apparatus consists of a column packed with sponge like gel beads. So this is the apparatus. Here again column is used. In this column, this sponge like gel bead, which could be a material of polysaccharides, cross-linked, interlinked polysaccharides, which contains pores on it. These beads, these gel beads contains very small pores in it. Okay, the gel serves as molecular sieves for the separation of smaller and bigger molecules. So these gel beads, small beads serve as a molecular sieves, means it retains smaller particles and the larger particles move faster inside the column. Here is the explanation of gel filtration chromatography. The solution mixture containing molecules of different sizes, say protein or could be any polymer, it applied to the column and eluted with a buffer. If a protein is unstable at high or low pH, then we have to use buffer type solutions. So the mobile phase will be a type of buffer. The to make the stability, to retain the stability of these biomolecules. The larger molecules cannot pass through the pores of a gel and therefore move faster. See, the gel beads of stationary phase which contains small pores, then these larger molecular weight particles will not retain or will not go inside that pores, could not go inside that pores, and they will move faster inside the 2 or 3 or 4 beads. But the smaller molecules enter the gel beads or the pores of gel beads because their size are smaller, so they can easily enter into the pores of these gel beads and are left behind, which come out slowly. So these travel slower compared to larger counterparts. By selecting the gel beads of different porosity, the molecules can be separated. So according to our sample components, what are the polymer size or molecular weight, we can select the uh, various porosity gel beads. The gel filtration chromatography can be used for an approximate determination of molecular weights. This is done by using a calibrated column with substances of known molecular weights. So this is the diagrammatic view of gel filtration chromatography, where a column is shown. This is at top side, this is inlet and this is outlet. Here a polymer solution, which is a protein solution, is filled here. Suppose here the protein is a single protein, same type of a single protein, where some have high molecular weight and some have low molecular weight. These small particles are low molecular weight or low size particles of the same protein, and these large particles, these black particles, are have high molecular weight. So these are obviously larger in size. When these passes through this column with the help of mobile phase or buffer solution, these smaller particles will retain in the pores of these beads. This is the gel beads, a polysaccharide network. So these beads contain very small pores on it. So these smaller particles will retain in these pores for some time, and these larger particles will move without any resistance or very low resistance. So these larger particles will elute first, but these smaller particles will elute at last or finally. How these are moving? These are moving very slowly due to presence of these pores. Okay, so this technique is very good technique for the separation of high molecular weight and low molecular weight parts of a single type of polymer. Here large particles come out first, and while smaller particles come in later fractions. Now affinity chromatography. The principle of affinity chromatography is based on the property of specific and non-covalent binding of proteins to other molecules, referred to as substrates or cofactors. Means on stationary phase, some special type of substrates or cofactors will be binded, and the passing protein molecules or other molecules will be non-covalently binded to this cofactor or substrate. Suppose we have uh, more than one protein in our sample components, 2 3 4 5 6. Suppose many components, many proteins, different types of proteins are present in our sample component, then one or two proteins, or we can say one protein, will retain due to affinity to these substrates or these cofactors which are present on our stationary phase. So here actual interaction is not cationic or anionic or not electrostatic, it is just a non-covalent binding to these cofactors or substrates towards these proteins. The technique involves the use of ligands covalently attached to an inert and porous matrix in the column. In column, the stationary phase, which is a matrix which is polar in nature and inert in nature, obviously we know that on this matrix some specific ligands are covalently attached, means these could not be removed from this column during experiment. These ligands, which are called as cofactor or substrates here, these ligands show non-covalent interaction with a specific protein molecule, and other molecules which are present in the same sample will elute. The immobilized ligands act as molecular hooks to selectively pick up the desired protein. So here only a specific size or shape or specific geometry containing protein will make any interaction with these ligands, while the remaining proteins pass through the column without any resistance. The desired protein captured by the ligands can be eluted by using free ligand molecules. If the ligands are freed from the stationary phase, then this retained protein could be eluted finally from the column. Alternatively, some reagents that can break protein ligand interaction can also be applied for the separation. So by changing the composition of mobile phase, means involving some reagents, specific reagents in the mobile phase, the retained protein could be eluted by breaking the protein ligand interactions. Affinity chromatography is useful for the purification of enzymes, vitamins, nucleic acids, drugs, hormones, receptors, antibodies, etc. So all these molecules, means larger molecules or smaller molecules, all type of these molecules which have specific sites, receptor sites, could easily be separable using this affinity chromatography technique. It is also widely used for the estimation of glycated Hb. Normal Hb does not bind and comes out first, but glycylated Hb binds with the boronic acid. Okay, if we want to separate simple or normal Hb from glycylated Hb, then using the boronic acid as a ligand, this glycylated Hb retained in the column. Sorbitol is then added to elute the glycylated Hb, which can be quantitated then. So this is the diagram of affinity chromatography. By using antibodies, antigens can be easily separated. Conversely, antibodies can be purified by passing through a column containing the antigen. Suppose in column the stationary phase contain a specific antigen, and if we have a mixture of various antibodies, so a specific antibody will retain or will make non-covalent bonding with this antigen, that is antigen antibody interaction, and the remaining other components which do not show any interaction with these antigen will move fast inside the column. Okay, so this is the simple example of affinity chromatography. Now this part I will discuss in next lecture. Thank you for listening the lecture.